Korean fried chicken. Seems like every internet chef has their own recipe, which can be a bit confusing when you're trying to get an accurate representation of an equally varied category of food. For a relatively quick takeout experience, I like to go to Bonchon, aka Bonchon, as it's probably meant to be pronounced. They have this thin, shatteringly crispy coating that stays crispy for hours after it's cooked. These wings survived a motorcycle trip in some boxes, inside a bag, inside my backpack, and they're still crispy. Beyond the ridiculous crispiness, their spicy sauce has this delicate, well-balanced flavor. It seems to have some gochujang, maybe some soy sauce, maybe some mirin, but overall the flavors are blended so well together that it's really hard to figure out exactly what's in it. So today I'm going to try 3 different frying methods and 3 different sauces to try and replicate the flavor and texture of those wings. Here I've got a pack of about 16 wings. I'm going to pat those dry to remove any excess moisture. Salt them on all sides, and throw them in the fridge for at least an hour. That's going to draw some excess moisture out of the wings, which should hopefully allow for a crispier wing. There are a lot of ideas out there about how to make the best, crispiest Korean fried chicken wings. I'll be using this Korean frying batter called 튀김가루, which is a combination of wheat flour, rice flour, potato starch, some baking soda, and a few seasonings. The wheat flour has gluten, so it's going to bind things together. The rice flour is going to crisp up real nice, as is the potato starch, and the baking soda should react with heat to fluff up the batter. I'm just using the instructions on the packet that say to use 200 milliliters of water with 500 grams of the powder, and whisking those together. Now, at first glance, this looks way too thick, so I'm going to add a little bit of water. And nope, that's way too thin now. Doesn't even want to stick to the chicken. So let's add back in some more 튀김가루. What am I doing? There's no room to whisk in here, so I'm going to pull out the chicken. And now I can whisk that till it's smooth. Still looking a little thin, so I'll add in some more of that 튀김가루. Maybe I should have stuck with the original ratio. Alright, that looks a little bit more like what I was going for originally. Now I'm using peanut oil to fry this. It's going to be double fried, so lower temperature on the first fry. This is around 175 Celsius. You can test it with a little bit of batter, and if it fries within a few seconds, then you should be pretty good. Now you have a little tasty treat to tide you over until the chicken's done. I'm going to throw in my chicken and fry for about 10 minutes. And when it's done, it should look pretty blonde. You don't want to overdo it on this first fry. We're just looking to cook the chicken through, and then we can crisp it up on the next fry. I'm going to strain out any crispy bits between fries, just to make sure they don't burn and cause off flavors. And my oil level was a little bit low, so I'm going to add a bit more so the chicken can be fully submerged. This time I'll raise the heat to about 190 Celsius. I'm going to fry for about 3 to 5 minutes until the outside's looking nice and golden. This next batch I'm going to try just the dredging method. This is pretty popular among Korean fried chicken enthusiasts like myself. This will get you a much crispier texture, but it won't be as thick and fluffy as the batter. So in this case, I'm just using straight 튀김가루. And once I dredge it, I like to press it on just to make sure it really sticks. And for the actual fry, we'll do the same double fry technique. My second fry. It's looking golden. And not quite enough, so I'll leave it in for a few more minutes. There we go. Now this third method is one of my favorites because it requires the least amount of cleanup and the least amount of oil. I'm just going to dredge them like the previous batch and throw them into my air fryer. I'm going to double fry these as well using the same temperatures, but I'm going to leave them in for 10 minutes for the second fry. And while they don't look as evenly browned as the oil fried ones, they are definitely crispy and delicious. So I highly recommend that method. Now I'm going to focus on my sauces. So the first sauce is an adaptation from a secret recipes website. Now I'm not going to mention them by name, but I don't recommend that you use them if you know which one I'm talking about. I paid not a lot, less than $1 for this recipe, but it turned out to not match the flavor at all. It was a good improvement from previous recipes that I tried, but it was missing a few flavor notes. So I made some alterations and here's what I got. First one, I'm going to add in some regular soy sauce. Some mirin, which is just a seasoned rice wine. Some ketchup. It may sound kind of crazy, but it's got some sweetness, it's got some acidity. Should add a nice tangy note. I'll add in some vegetable oil. Some gochujang. This will be the key ingredient in most of these sauces. It's a fermented chili paste that's got a real rich, smoky, spicy flavor. I'm gonna mix those together. And forgot some sugar. And then for extra spice and a little bit extra smokiness, I've got gochugaru, which is Korean chili flakes. Pretty different in flavor from any other chili flakes that I've had. I guess you could substitute Kashmiri chili mixed with some cayenne, and you'd kind of approximate it, but not a one-to-one. Heating that up in a saucepan. Stirring vigorously so that it splashes over the edges, and we can leave that going on low heat until we need it. The next sauce is going to be a bit richer and darker. It's my own personal sauce that I've been using for ages on my chicken. It's got tons of garlic and tons of flavor. So I'm using dark soy. It's a bit thicker, a bit richer, a little bit less salty. Some toasted sesame oil for smokiness, richness. It's a really nice flavor. Some rice vinegar for that sharp acidity. Can't forget the mirin. Some gochujang. Some sugar for sweetness. Gochugaru. And this is muryot. It's a rice syrup. This will add some nice gloss and a little bit of sweetness to the sauce. And what is Korean food if not a vessel for tons of garlic? I'm gonna mince that all up. Smash it to extract all the extra juice. And dump that right in.
And the first two didn't quite match up, so in a last-ditch effort, I decided to pare things back to try and replicate the simplicity of the Bonchon sauce. So all I'm going to put in here is
Soy sauce, mirin, gochujang, a little sugar, 물엿, and a tiny bit of rice vinegar. Now the sauce should be pretty thinly applied so that it doesn't overpower the taste or the texture of the chicken. So some high-end restaurants will brush the chicken with the sauce. And of course that splattered sauce everywhere. So maybe do this over the pot rather than the plate. Nice light crisp breading, tender chicken, and the sauce is bright, sweet, and spicy. It's got a little bit of acidity. Definitely not a one-to-one match, but pretty fun rendition. The batter got some of those craggly bits, which I think if I had gone a little bit thicker, like the instructions said, would have turned into a nice shell. It's almost as crispy as the batter. It's super thin, definitely not the separate layer that you get from Bonchon, but it adds a real nice outer texture to the chicken. And now for the air fryer. That is almost indistinguishable from the deep fried tigim garu. It's got the same crispiness, chicken's just as tender. So keep that in mind if you don't want to dirty up your kitchen. Much different. It's so deep and rich and dark. You've got the garlic really shining through. The sesame oil creates this little bit of smokiness, and the dark soy just deepens everything. If the first sauce is like a nice weeknight family dinner, this is like a dimly lit date night kind of chicken, if that makes any sense at all. And the last ditch effort to try and redeem myself, let's see. Interesting. Somewhere in between the two. Not as bright as sauce A, and I think that really has to do with the ketchup, but it's definitely not as dark and rich as this one. So it's sort of like a cleaner taste, almost.
So I didn't really nail the Bonchon flavor or texture, but if you can't get your hands on Korean fried chicken wings in your neighborhood, then I hope you give this a try. And if you work for Bonchon and you want to divulge the actual recipe, send me a message, and I promise not to share it with anybody else. Or if you want me to, I can do a follow-up. But either way, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Cheers.